Have you ever been so angry that you didn't recognize yourself anymore? Like you weren't mad, you weren't annoyed, you were possessed. Your jaw was tight, your thoughts were spiraling, and your inner monologue had turned into a courtroom drama starring you, your rage, and 1,000 imaginary arguments that you were definitely winning. Yes, today, fellow mages, we are talking about that version of you. And we are using one of Mythology's most terrifying avatars to do it. Welcome back, fellow mages, to the Grounded Mage, where we explore how myth and magic exist in everyday life. Meet Alecto, the fury of relentless anger, righteous vengeance, and emotional wildfire. She's the voice that says, they deserve this. Don't let it go. Burn it all down. And if you've ever replayed a fight in your head for 3 days straight, congratulations. You have already met her. And today we're going to dive deeper into her psyche. So let's get into it. In Greek mythology, Alecto is one of the Furies, ancient spirits of justice and punishment. First important note, they were conceived from violence. In short, the blood of a castrated Uranus fell onto the goddess Gaia and boom, the three sisters were conceived. Alecto is one out of 3 Furies. She and her sisters have very specific jobs. At least her sisters have very specific jobs. Megara is the goddess of jealousy, and her job is to punish people for adultery, broken oaths, infidelity, and theft. Tisiphone is the goddess of murder. Her job is to track down and punish murderers. When they're not doing these things, the 3 of them actually spend their time tormenting prisoners of the damned in the prisons of the underworld. They work for Hades and Persephone. Alecto's job, unlike her sisters, is a little more gray. She is tasked with chasing down and punishing those who have committed moral crimes. Crimes involving excessive rage, betrayal, crimes against humanity, basically any kind of wrongdoing that her sisters are not in charge of. Her name literally translates to unending or unceasing anger. She is restless in her pursuit of people and gods alike who have committed moral crimes. I think before I get into the psychology and you portions of this episode, it's important to know some of the things Alecto is capable of and a few stories of the things that she has done. It'll help drive the point of this episode home. To start, her powers include being able to incite war, discord, and madness. Think about some of the things anger can make people do. She can also shapeshift, fly, lift, or throw very heavy things. And here are those stories I promised to tell, just to show how bad her rap really is. In the tragic tale of Oedipus, Alecto played a crucial role in ensuring the fulfillment of a dreadful curse. When Oedipus unknowingly killed his father and married his mother, he invoked the wrath of the gods. Zeus summoned Alecto, the unceasing one, to enforce divine punishment. She haunted Thebes with whispers of plague and despair, driving the city to the brink of ruin until Oedipus uncovered his own horrifying truth. Blinding himself in agony, he begged for mercy, but Alecto gave him none, ensuring his exile and the continued suffering of his lineage as a stark lesson in fate and hubris. With serpentine hair and eyes of flame, Alecto descended upon Thebes, her very presence a blight upon the land. Crops withered, children fell ill, and discord spread like wildfire. She tormented Oedipus in his dreams, revealing fragments of his sins until he could no longer deny the truth. Even as he gouged out his eyes, Alecto stood vigilant, a relentless force ensuring that every ounce of anguish was exacted according to the will of the gods. Her work was aided by the personifications of suffering and conflict, including Lupe, Puen, and Penthus, who amplified the sorrow that permeated Thebes. Then there were the events leading to the Trojan War, which, of course, Alecto played a huge role in. See, she was secretly dispatched by Eris, the goddess of strife, to escalate the conflict sparked by the judgment of Paris. When Paris awarded the golden apple to Aphrodite, spurning Athena and Hera, Alecto infiltrated the courts of Troy and Greece, fanning the flames of pride and vengeance. She whispered insecurities into Hera's ear, stoked Athena's thirst for retribution, and emboldened Paris's reckless desires, ensuring that the slight would not be forgotten but would ignite a decade-long war. Disguised as a trusted advisor, Alecto moved among mortals and immortals alike, her words dripping with malice. She reminded Hera of her wounded pride, incited Athena to vow destruction upon Troy, and twisted Paris's love for Helen into an obsession that would doom thousands. As armies gathered and heroes marched to war, Alecto watched with satisfaction. Her duty to punish impiety was being fulfilled through bloodshed and chaos. She was joined in her efforts by Makai, Homatos, and Phonoi, who thrived in the carnage that she helped unleash. So basically, Alecto is the embodiment of unresolved rage. If we talked about having Alecto deep within us, she wouldn't show up when you're mildly irritated. She would show up when you feel betrayed, you feel powerless, you feel wronged, or you feel unseen. She feeds on injustice. And psychologically, that's fascinating because anger almost never starts as anger. It starts as hurt, fear, shame, loss, rejection. Anger is the armor. Alecto is the armor with a flamethrower. What emotion usually hides underneath your anger? Hurt, fear, embarrassment, or something else? Let me know in a comment down below. Let's bring in one of our old friends, Sigmund Freud. Freud believed that when emotions aren't processed, they don't just disappear. They get stored, like emotional leftovers in the fridge. And eventually, they start to smell. Anger is often spoiled emotions. It's grief that never got airtime, it's disappointment that wasn't allowed to speak, it's boundaries that were crossed quietly too many times. Alecto represents all of the feelings you told yourself you were fine about. And spoiler, you were not. What have you told yourself you're over that might still be living rent-free in your nervous system? Here's where things get dangerous, because Alecto doesn't just visit. If you're not careful, she moves in. At some point, anger stops being something you feel and starts being something that you are. I'm just a blunt person. I don't tolerate nonsense. I'm passionate. Translation: I'm tired of being hurt, and rage feels safer than vulnerability. This is where Carl Jung enters the chat. And if you were around for season 1, you know that we talk about Jung a lot on this channel. Jung talked about the shadow, the parts of ourselves we reject, suppress, or deny. We actually talk a lot about him when we talk about villains. A couple of those episodes are linked in the description down below. When you repress anger, it doesn't disappear. It becomes your shadow. And shadows don't whisper. They explode. Alecto is what happens when the shadow gets a hold of the mic. Modern research on emotional regulation shows a pattern: trigger, interpretation, emotion, reaction, reinforcement. Or in Alecto terms, someone says something, you interpret it as disrespect, you feel hurt, anger activates, you lash out, you feel briefly powerful, your brain remembers, anger works. And boom, neural pathway unlocked. According to Albert Bandura, we learn behaviors through reinforcement. If anger gives you control, if it gets results, if it makes people back off, your brain will choose it again. Not because it's healthy, but because it's efficient. Alecto is your survival system running on outdated software. What does anger give you in difficult moments? Control, distance, safety, attention? Let's talk about emotional mastery. Psychologist Daniel Goleman describes emotional intelligence as not suppressing emotions, not exploding with them, but understanding and directing them. Think of it this way. Anger is energy. Alecto is raw energy, but unchanneled energy becomes destruction. But channeled energy becomes boundaries, advocacy, courage, or change. Same emotion, different magic. How could you redirect your anger into something constructive right now? Here's the plot twist. Alecto isn't your enemy, she's your messenger. She shows up when your boundaries are being ignored, your needs aren't being met, your values are violated, or your voice feels small. Anger says, something matters here. The problem isn't feeling it, because if you're new here, you should know it's okay to feel the things that you feel. Your feelings are valid. The problem is letting anger drive. Imagine anger as a dashboard warning light. You don't smash the dashboard, you check the engine. Let's do what we do best on this channel and ground this information in real life. When Alecto shows up, try this 3-step spell. First step, name it. I'm angry, not I'm fine, not whatever. Labeling emotion literally calms your brain. It's called affect labeling, and it can do the following things for you. Decrease your heart rate so your alarm system, your amygdala, isn't going nuts so you can clearly examine the situation. It can also help you identify triggers for that specific emotion. And it can also help strengthen your relationships. If you're able to clearly tell someone how you feel, it causes less tension in a relationship. If you can tell your husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, partner, sibling, whoever, I'm angry or I feel underappreciated, it's going to help them help you and fix the underlying issue faster. Science-backed magic. Step 2, trace it. Ask what hurts underneath this. Not who do I blame, but what am I protecting? And remember, you have to be successful with step 1 before you can do step 2. So don't skip it. And the third and final step is choose it. How do I want to express this? Anger can become a boundary, a conversation, a decision, a release, a walk, a journal entry, a workout, a creative outlet. Anything that won't turn your anger into a wildfire will do. And the amazing thing is you don't have to choose the same option every time. Each of these responses can be useful in different situations. Just make sure you've accomplished steps 1 and step 2 so you can clearly decide which expression is going to work best for the current problem. What's one healthy way you can release anger this week? Let me know in a comment down below. Alecto reminds us of something important. You are not weak for feeling anger. You are human. But you're more powerful when you learn to hold it instead of letting it hold you. Rage says, burn the village. Wisdom says, build better walls. You don't need to silence your fury. You need to listen to it, translate it, and transform it. Because when anger is grounded, it becomes courage, it becomes clarity, it becomes change. And that is the real magic. Here's the question I leave you with today. If your anger was a voice instead of a weapon, what would it be asking for? Thanks for listening. If this episode resonated, share it with someone who may need some help understanding their own anger. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Next week, we are keeping this mythology theme going and talking about someone who was a little full of himself. Narcissists. Until next week, fellow mages, make it make magic.